Welcome to Derry, the hidden horror they don't want you to see. Stephen King once said that the town of Derry, Maine, has a population of 30,000 people. But he lied. The real number is closer to 30,000 souls who have forgotten how to scream. Welcome to Derry, the most cursed square mile on planet Earth. A place where children vanish every 27 years like clockwork. A place where the adults have learned to look the other way. A place where the sewers aren't just filled with water, they're filled with fear. And at the center of it all? A clown. But not just any clown. An ancient evil that has been feeding on this town since before humans even walked the earth. You think you know the story of Pennywise. You've seen the movies. You've read the book. But HBO's new series, Welcome to Derry, just revealed something that changes everything. And I'm about to show you the dark secrets that the show is hiding in plain sight. Why Derry? The cosmic real estate. Here's the thing about Derry that nobody talks about. It's not random. The location isn't coincidence. The town itself is the trap. When the entity known as IT arrived on Earth millions of years ago, riding a meteorite that crashed into what would eventually become Maine, it didn't just land anywhere. It landed somewhere specific. Somewhere that would become a perfect hunting ground. The Shokopiwah tribe knew this. They were the first people to encounter the creature they called the Gallu. And they understood something that the white settlers completely ignored. The creature couldn't move beyond the western wood. It was contained. Trapped. Limited by something in the land itself. So the Shokopiwah made a choice. They learned to live in balance with the monster. They stayed within their boundaries. They survived. Then the settlers came. And they ignored every single warning. The arrival of evil. Picture this. It's 1741. A group of settlers establishes a small community in what they're calling Derry Township. 340 souls. Women, children, families. By October, they're all gone. Not dead, not exactly. Vanish. The entire community. Gone without a trace. The official history blames an Indian massacre. But the Shokopiwah knew the truth. They've been trying to warn the settlers for years. Stay out of the western wood. Don't hunt there. Don't build there. The Gallu doesn't like visitors. But settlers gonna settle. And the Gallu? It was hungry. This is the first recorded feeding cycle of IT. But it wasn't the last. And it wouldn't be the last because Derry had become something else. Something the entity could use. The every 27-year cycle. This is where things get really interesting. Every 27 years, like clockwork, IT wakes up, feeds, and goes back to sleep. Why 27? Nobody knows for sure. Some say it's tied to the cosmic cycles of the macroverse. Others say it's just when the entity gets hungry enough to bother with the effort of waking up. But here's what the show reveals that the movies never showed. The feeding cycles aren't just random. They're shaped by Derry itself. In 1879, a crew of lumberjacks gets snowed in at a camp on the Upper Kentucky. 9 men. 9 men hacked to pieces. Heads rolled. Arms everywhere. And a man's penis nailed to the cabin wall. Not a normal murder, right? That's because it wasn't murder. It was feeding. In 1906, the Kitchener Ironworks explodes on Easter Sunday. 108 people dead. 88 of them were children. The official cause? A gas leak. The real cause? Pennywise was hungry. The black spot fire. Now we're getting into the really dark stuff. In 1930, Derry was a different place. Segregation was real. Racism was open. And Derry's African American community had exactly one place to go for entertainment. A nightclub called the Black Spot. One night, a group of white soldiers from the local army base showed up looking for trouble. They found it. The soldiers were thrown out. They didn't like that. So they burned the place down. with everyone inside. But here's the terrifying part, it wasn't just the soldiers. IT was there too. In the shadows. In the fear. Feeding on the terror of people trapped in a burning building. Andy Muschietti has said the show will dive deep into this event. And it connects directly to the new series, because one of the key characters is Dick Hallorann. Yes, that Dick Hallorann. The one from The Shining. He's in Derry during this time. And he's got a gift. Something called The Shining. It allows him to see things that other people can't. Including the true nature of what's happening in Derry. The Bob Gray origin. This is where the show changes everything you thought you knew about Pennywise. In Stephen King's original novel, IT tells Georgie Denbrough that its name is Bob Gray. A circus performer. A clown. But King never explained more than that. It was a throwaway line. A bit of flavor. Well, welcome to Derry just filled in the gaps in the most terrifying way possible. Bob Gray was real. A real man. A circus performer who did a clown routine. He wasn't evil. He wasn't supernatural. He was just a guy trying to make a living in a small town. One day, after a performance, Bob Gray was led into the forest by IT. But not as a monster. As a young boy. Something innocent. Something that would make a grown man let his guard down. And then the entity devoured him. Ate him. Consumed him. And took his form. That's right, Pennywise is wearing the face of a dead man. A real man who had a family. Who had hopes and dreams. And who was eaten by an ancient evil that wanted a new mask. The connection to The Shining. We mentioned Dick Hallorann earlier. Now let's talk about why he's so important. In The Shining, Hallorann is the chef at the Overlook Hotel. He has The Shining, a psychic ability that allows him to see beyond the normal world. He uses it to help Danny Torrance. He dies saving the boy and his mother. But in Welcome to Derry, we see Hallorann decades earlier. He's in Derry because of the army. They want to use his abilities to track down Pennywise. To find the creature's lair. And here's where it gets wild, the army's efforts are a complete disaster. They sweep the sewers. They send in armed soldiers. And Pennywise appears dressed as a decaying Uncle Sam. Why Uncle Sam? Because the show is making a point. Derry isn't just haunted. It's infected. The evil has spread to the institutions that are supposed to protect people. The police. The military. The government. They're all part of it now. The Mulverse explanation. Okay, so you've heard of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Well, Stephen King did it first. Every single Stephen King story exists in the same universe. The same multiverse. And at the center of it all is the Dark Tower. We're not going to go too far down this rabbit hole because it's a deep, deep hole. But here's what you need to know. IT isn't just a monster. IT is a cosmic force of destruction. An entity from the macroverse, the void between universes. And IT's eternal enemy is Matron, a cosmic turtle who literally vomited up our entire universe. Yes. Vomited. The turtle got sick, puked, and that puke became everything we know. Matron is good. IT is evil. They're brothers of a sort. And they've been fighting since before time began. Every time IT wakes up in Derry, it's part of a cosmic war that we can't even comprehend. The children who die? The adults who disappear? They're just collateral damage in a conflict that's older than the planet itself. The Easter eggs you missed. Now let's talk about what Welcome to Derry is hiding in plain sight. Turtles. They're everywhere. Lily's bracelet. The school mascot. A sign that says Bert the Turtle says, duck and cover. These aren't just random choices. They're references to Matron. To the cosmic force that opposes IT. The Paul Bunyan statue is a big one. In IT Chapter 2, the statue comes to life and chases Richie Tozier. Well, in Welcome to Derry, they're in the process of erecting the statue. And the townspeople? They're fighting it. They don't want the statue. They sense something wrong about it. Why? Because Paul Bunyan represents something. A myth. A lie. A story that covers up something darker. And then there's the graffiti. In the school bathroom, someone has scrawled Alvin Marsh inside a love heart. Alvin Marsh is Beverly's father, the abusive one from the original movies. He's just a kid in 1962. And he's already showing signs of what he'll become. The King connection's one of the most interesting things about Welcome to Derry is how connected it is to King's other works. The store Secondhand Rose, Secondhand Clothes appears. That shop is mentioned in several King novels. King himself played the shopkeeper in IT Chapter 2. Nan's Luncheonette appears. That diner shows up in both IT and stories set in Castle Rock, another one of King's cursed towns. A newspaper clipping mentions a hotel called the Arrowhead. The Arrowhead Project appears in The Mist and other King stories. It's a secret government program that deals with supernatural threats. And then there's the big one, the Shokopiwah tribe story about IT's origin. In the original novel, the Native American connection is weak. Ben Hanscom reads about Indian smoke holes in a book, and he and his friends use them to get visions. It's a clumsy attempt to connect to something deeper. The show fixes this. It gives the Shokopiwah a real role. Real mythology. Real agency. They knew about IT. They fought IT. And they lost, not because they were weak, but because the settlers didn't listen. The military angle. Here's something the show introduces that's completely new. The US military is involved. They know about Pennywise. They've known for years. And they've been trying to find a way to defeat it, or at least understand it. Dick Hallorann isn't just in Derry by accident. He's there because the army wants to use his shining. They want to map the creature's lair. They want to find its weaknesses. And what happens? The soldiers who go into the sewers don't come back. The ones who do? They're never the same. There's a scene in the trailer where a soldier is talking about what he saw down there. His face is pale. His hands are shaking. And he says the same thing that everyone who encounters IT says: it knows us. It knows everything about us. So here's what all of this means. IT, Welcome to Derry isn't just a prequel. It's a complete recontextualization of everything we thought we knew about Stephen King's most iconic villain. The entity is ancient. It's alien. It's evil beyond human comprehension. And it's been living in Derry for millions of years, feeding on the fear of children, shaping the town into a perfect hunting ground. The settlers didn't know what they were walking into. The adults who live there now don't know. They've forgotten. They've repressed it. Because the alternative, knowing the truth, would break them. And now, HBO is bringing all of this to the screen. Not just Pennywise. Not just the Losers Club. But the real horror. The cosmic scale of it all. The connection to the Dark Tower and the Macroverse and everything else. The series premieres October 26th on HBO and HBO Max. Mark your calendar. Tell your friends. Because this is going to be the horror event of the decade. And if you want more deep dives into Stephen King's universe, including hidden connections you never knew existed, smash that subscribe button. Because Derry isn't done with us. Not even close. And the more we learn about this town, the more we realize that the real horror wasn't Pennywise. The real horror was everything else. Now hit like, share this video with someone who loves a good scare, and I'll see you in the next one. But before you go, one last question. When you're walking home tonight, and you see a red balloon bobbing in the darkness, don't you want to know where it's going? Float.